Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. We are back on schedule. It's a Board Game Breakfast that was released on Monday for once. And that's because con season, we had 3 cons in a row, and now there's a bit of a lull before Gen Con, which we very much need. So there's a lot of things to get done. Now, we've had some problems at our new studio with internet. We called Comcast. They came out and looked. They told us there was some sort of problem. They figured out what the problem was. They said they were going to fix it. If it's fixed, we'll be doing a live Q&A. I'm going to do one today, well, probably around 3 o'clock p.m. So keep an eye out for that. So we'll be back with the live Q&As, and hopefully we'll get some live gameplays in soon too. But we got to make sure our internet's working first. That was the problem with our previous streaming. It wasn't our fault, despite several comments to the contrary. But anyhow, hopefully we'll get that fixed soon and get cracking. We did put out a lot of content last week, so you can check all that out. But other than that, let's get started. So first of all, we see that there's the path to Carcosa. This is a new expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game, which just has expansions coming out. This is Fantasy Flight's MO when it comes to their living card games. They're just going to pump out content. If you were playing this game on a cooperative level, well, have fun, because you're going to be constantly be able to play more and more of it. I am curious about that. I mean, I understand that they have new packs coming out all the time for the living card games where they're competitive, because there's a competitive scene. There is no competitive scene here. It's a straight co-op. How much of that do you need? I mean, they put out lots of expansions for the other games like Eldritch Horror and such, but not as quickly as they do for the LCGs. Z-Man is showing off Majesty for the Realm. This is from the same designer of Splendor. And I had a chance to play an early production copy of this and remember just really impressed with it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like they went out of their way to make the theme boring. But the artwork is great. But the theme doesn't look that fantastic. But in this game, as you get these cards and trying to figure out what cards you want, you're trying to get groupings of cards and more powerful. But if I don't take any of that card, I might be letting you get it. I love the concept of it. It was a lot of fun. And so looking forward to seeing the final product. Hit Me Baby One More Time is the newest expansion, or a future new expansion from AEG, where once again we will get to vote on the factions that we want. Now, last year they did a tournament bracket and Cowboys got knocked off, which was a shame, but they said this year we can get behind it and have people vote. So I'm telling you to vote. Vote for Cowboys, because I want a Cowboy faction. I don't know what that Cowboy faction can do to catch people on the other side. We need a Cowboy faction. We probably also need a Mobster faction. Yeah, okay, maybe a Mobster faction too. But, or you could vote Dice Tower faction. They would never go for that. Dice faction, like just dice that are come to life. You can have Ghost Dice and Ninja Dice. Yeah, vote for Dice. Vote for something. All right. Let's see here. From Friedman Freeze and 2F Games, and from Stronghold Games, at Essen is coming out a new series of games called Fast Forward. These are games that are a single deck of cards, but you don't use the whole deck of cards each game. There's no rules for the game. You flip over a card and it tells you some rules. You start playing the game, and as time goes by, other cards will reveal more rules. And you keep doing this and keep doing this, and you can stop after a game's over and come back and start up another game. And eventually you play through the whole deck. This is similar to their Fable system from Fable Fruit. I thought Fable Fruit was good, but I played one of these 3 games. There's 3 of them coming out: Fear, Fortress, and Flee. Flee is, I believe, a cooperative game. But I played Fortress, which is not a cooperative game, and we played a game, and I said, I want to play it again. And we played again, and I played and played and played and played until we went through that deck. And even though I went through the whole deck, I could go through it again, for sure. The surprises wouldn't be there, but the gameplay was interesting enough, and it kept evolving. And I found it they're not heavy games by any means, but they're intriguing. So that's coming out at Essen from Stronghold and Friedman Freeze. Blue Orange has announced Photosynthesis for Gen Con 2017. Now, we've already reviewed Photosynthesis here on our show, but Sam reviewed it. But I'm thinking about reviewing it myself because I like it that much. And I think, folks, this is one of the best games of the year. It's phenomenal. It's simple. And so it's a release I just wanted to highlight. Grail Games is going to be publishing Kashgar. Jason and I reviewed Kashgar a few months ago, which was a deck multi-table building of cards as you put these cards out and they get shuffled to the back. Really kind of an intriguing game, but there was no English version. Well, there will be now from Grail Games. A new game from Tasty Minstrel Games, Crusaders, Thy Will Be Done. Fantastic cover. This is designed by the very good designer Seth Jaffe, so looking forward to that. And you know what? That is all the news. Let's get to the Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody! The crowdfunding world for board gaming is exploding right now, with a bunch of great projects launching in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to do my best to go through some of my favorites today, but then next week I've got more great projects to talk about, so let's get going! In Legendary Creatures, players are competing to be the land's next druid. You're going to want to move your familiars through 4 different elemental realms. You'll be visiting different lands, making new allies, using amulets and spells, all to win the trial of nature's grace. Legendary Creatures has a deck building and management foundation with some resource management thrown in. But the crux of the game is in leveraging all the options on the cards and other tiles and tokens in clever ways for efficient and powerful combos. Through 3 rounds or in-game days, players will draw cards and allocate them to either a creature party or for an end-of-day expedition. Cards' initiative values come into play against opponents, and maximizing your card's abilities is key to victory. And with so many potential combos, the gameplay challenge, it really shifts from game to game. Legendary Creatures also features delightful, bright fantasy art and some really charming custom meeples. You can get a copy of Legendary Creatures for a pledge of $39 plus shipping. Cthulhu: Rise of the Cults is a competitive game set in the city of Arkham where you'll be working to lead and grow your cult, find artifacts, perform rituals, battle investigators, and prove you are worthy of the Great Old One. Rise of the Cults uses worker placement and deck building combined with some area control in order to gain points. Cards provide resources necessary to pay the worker costs, but they also provide special abilities. Action spaces are limited, and the order in which players choose regions to act in impacts the gameplay. Each round, players must also deal with an event. Cthulhu: Rise of the Cults also features custom minis, and you can get a copy for a pledge of $69 plus shipping. Pepper and Carrot is a puzzly tile movement game based on the adorable webcomic about a witch named Pepper and her mischievous kitty named Carrot. Pepper and Carrot, the game, revolves around a potions contest in which all players have the same ingredients randomly laid out on their player boards. All players use the shared order cards to manipulate the tiles in the hopes of completing the potions, so it has this interesting shared programming element to it. And in case the shared order really doesn't work in a turn, players also have a set of personal order cards that they can use. Pepper and Carrot has a separate solo mode and additional variants to mix up the gameplay. You can get a copy of the game for a pledge of $40 Canadian, and you can add in the 5th player expansion and a Carrot meeple for $12 Canadian. Spooker is a trick-taking game in which you're trying to lure extra ghosts to your mansion to increase its appeal to ghost hunters and tourists. To gain a ghost, players must play the highest value card under the target ghost's value. But ghosts have different auras, and when players play a card that has a matching aura to the target ghost, then their special ability is triggered, and this can range from peeking at opponents' hands to swapping cards. Additionally, a couple of Grim Reaper cards can snag the trick outright. A copy of Spooker takes a pledge of just $12. The Delightful Habitats is moving into a small second printing from Koali. In this tile laying game, players are competing wildlife park managers trying to assemble the best park. Tiles are placed in a personal park zone, and they score points based on specific conditions, usually matching connected terrain types to an animal tile, but there are also flowers, watchtowers, and other tiles that score differently. The way you get these tiles is through a central area in which you move a pawn to collect tiles, but the orientation and direction matters, so strategic planning for your movement on that tile area is critical, and it adds a nice twist to the tile laying genre. If you own the first edition of the game, the only change is they switch to wooden pieces from ceramic pieces. And if you don't have habitats, you can get a copy of this limited edition for a pledge of €22 plus shipping. And last, but certainly not least, Scott King is back with his annual gaming calendar. A notable writer and board game photographer, Scott's work is seen in marketing from many publishers. His gaming calendar is a standard 12-month calendar that is pre-printed with a variety of gaming and geek-related dates, like major conventions and celebratory days. This year's standard calendar includes photos of games like Tak, Sagrada, Junkart, and other recent hits. But to go a step further, you can pledge for a custom calendar that allows you to select from a plethora of photos and add 4 custom holidays to your calendar. If you have a favorite game image, there are also add-on options for prints as well. You can get the standard calendar for a pledge of $24 plus shipping, or you can get a custom calendar for a pledge of $35 plus shipping. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise, coming to you from the middle of summer vacation. And when you're a kid, it's that part of summer vacation between still having a spark of creative energy and just laying on the floor all day trying to absorb as much air conditioning as possible. And this time of year is especially special to me because the summer after 2nd grade was when I created my very first board game, Tar Pit. Now, it was a modest, dinosaur-themed adventure sharing the same roll and move mechanisms of games of the time that I was familiar with. You know, all of the standard cliches were there. Roll to move, lose a turn, etc. It was simple, but that's all I knew about board games at the time. Well, by contrast, this week my own summer vacationing daughter diligently decided to design a board game of her very own. Soon after, she unveiled the fruits of her labor, a game that still incorporates roll and move, but also adds storytelling, character development, quests, and interactive player participation. The result is more like something like a cross between Legends of Andor, Above and Below, with the dash of Happy Salmon. And I have to admit, this is a bit more advanced than the rolling and moving dinosaurs that populated my first game design, and this is likely due to her familiarity with modern gaming mechanisms as a result of the countless riveting conversations that her father has had with her about board games. Either that, or she's just much more talented at game design than I was at her age. But even if that is the case, I have not only caught up to her, but I have surpassed her design abilities. For example, the updated version of Tar Pit that I designed just yesterday adds a roll again space. Checkmate, kiddo! But regardless of just how far superior my own board game design capabilities are than hers, the distinct difference in the content and mechanisms between what the two of us designed as kids started me wondering, do all gamers have at least one game design lurking deep inside of them? Have you ever designed a game? And if so, what age did you make your first one at? And how has your view of game design evolved over time? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. But in the meantime, I'm going to go pitch the idea for a certain dinosaur-themed roll and move expansion to someone to add into their little game. I think it's going to be a big hit.
Lots of stuff coming out. It's a full-blown week of production, so you'll see lots of reviews and things. We'll also be doing our top 10 convention games, games that are best played at a convention because maybe it's really the only place you can get it played, or it's just a game that works well in that setting. And we'll be working together with some Miami Dices Indulgence, Dice Forge, and some other games. I'll be taking a look at Monopoly Gamer and a pile of other reviews you can see coming out this week. I'll also be doing top 10 publisher, best of publisher for Plaid Hat Games and Hans im Glück. And Eric and I are going to be doing a new podcast with a co-host this coming Tuesday where we talk about games that are great with 5 players. And not just our podcast, but there are many other great podcasts all found on the Dice Tower Network. So check it out at dicetowernetwork.com.
Hello everyone, my name is Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Applied Mechanics, I'm going to go over the game of The Climbers. Now, The Climbers is a 3-dimensional abstract game, so it's all mechanics. But the way that you use the mechanics in this game makes the game unique, because it's all 3-dimensional. So let me show you a little bit about this game and why I like it. So here you have a setup of The Climbers. Every player is going to grab a set of ladders, along with a pawn and one of these blockers. Every player is going to try to move their pawn from the base of the building all the way to the very top. This building is going to progressively get taller and taller, so the players will continue to climb up the building. In order to move the players up, players can grab a block, they can rotate it any which way, place it, and then the players can move their pawn onto that block, as long as it matches, or even if it's a neutral color. Players will also be able to move these blocks, and if they want to climb higher, they can use their ladders and climb higher and higher. However, once you use a ladder, that's the end of it. Another climbing rule is that whenever you place a block, you can move your little climber up as long as their little head peeks over. Otherwise, you have to use a ladder. As you can see, the whole building is shifting and moving its way up, along with the little climbers too. Whoever is at the highest point will win the game. So as you can see in The Climbers, this game is very unique and different in an abstract way. You usually use your pawns in order to move them horizontally or vertically, but in this game you're moving them up. You're doing so by rotating these different blocks, and because of that, it makes the game very puzzly and very thinky, even though it's very simple in rules. And that's why I really enjoy this game, because of the rotational use of those blocks and figuring out your best move. That's why I highly recommend The Climbers. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Hey guys, what do you think if we built our own bear park? I think it would be an awesome idea. What do you think, Pooh? I think it would be a great idea too. Oh, hey, it's nice of you to stop by again, because today on Time to Learn, we're going to take a look at Baden Park.
The gameplay here is fairly easy. Basically, you're going to build a new park, and the way you do this is by drawing tiles and place them on your board. There are a few rules you have to respect. You cannot have a tile hanging over the edge like this. You cannot build anything below the entrance of the park. You see the park name here. You also have a pit where the bear statue is going to be placed later on, so you cannot cover that. Other than that, you can move your tiles in any directions. Any way you can flip it over like that. One of the squares on your board will have a worker style. So as soon as you cover that particular square, you will draw a new terrain tile for your park. You can put that tile anywhere orthogonally adjacent to your board. You can either put diagonally or below the park entrance. So the game ends when one of the players finish to build their park, and then, surprise, surprise, whoever scored the most amount of points win. So any final thoughts on Baden Park?
I think it's a very strategic game in that you have to think of your every move as you're completing your board.
Yeah, for me it's a much better game than Patchwork, and there's 3 of us in the house so we can play it together, and that's kind of fun. I like how the game flows as well. Yeah, we kind of enjoy it. It's not my favorite game, but it's good enough that we'll play it probably at least once a month.
Yeah, but what a terrible insert they have in this
Yeah,
box.
that's true. I mean, can somebody explain me that?
Yeah, why would they do something like that?
I don't know. But there you go. Solved. Well, thanks for watching again.
See you around the table.
Bye.
Two brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
Playing games is hard. Sometimes you just can't figure out what are the mechanics.
Yeah, that's boring the audience. That's going to be a holding violation.
The audience?
Redo the intro. Oh, God, man! Pandering, pandering to the audience.
Mike, what are you doing?
I'm gonna get you with a delayed game if you don't get this segment together. Also, excessive flatulence in the scene.
You're just making stuff up.
Holding.
This is holding. You want holding? Holding? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're wearing blue on tan.
That's a violation.
You can't wear blue on tan. Bad beard to hair ratio.
All right. Now you're just hurting your brother's feelings.
I'm hard enough.
All right, you know what? That's it. You're objecting.
Fuck.
Get out of here. Nick Murphy's been ejected from the game. The crowd goes wild. Yeah, I guess I'm the face.
So this is Rules of the Game. Rules of the Game is a roll and move game where you're going to be answering trivia questions about obscure sports rules. So on your turn, you're going to roll the die, and then where you land, you're going to answer trivia about that sport. The game covers 4 sports: baseball, golf, basketball, and football. So on your turn, wherever you roll, you're going to answer a question from one of these cards. So let's say I land on golf. I'm going to answer the golf question. Question is the use of a ball warmer during play a violation? Answer, yes, it will result in disqualification. Ha! Classic golf scenario. So the players go around the board. If you land on a challenge spot, that means you make someone else answer the question. The first player to get around the board wins. So that was Rules of the Game. Touchdown. I don't know who this game is for. Like, I get some people out there like trivia and know a lot about sports. Are there kids out there who are like, I want to be a referee?
I will concede this. I'm a big fan of baseball, and I know a lot of the little weird rules, so I'll bet you there's people in this game that are super good.
Who would want to play this?
Well, the guy who wants to know, can a running back wear the number 72?
Can he, Mike?
Sure he can, but he'd be an ineligible pass receiver. Do hit us up on social media right here. Let us know what you've been playing, and until next time, we'll see you at the thrift store.
We'll see you there.
See you on the ball field, brother.
So what do you do if your dice don't have numbers on them? Hi, I'm Chris Renshaw from the Boards and Swords podcast, and welcome to Role Playing. Fantasy Flight Games loves their proprietary dice system, and in all of their Star Wars games, Imperial Assault, X-Wing, they all have these crazy dice systems using all sorts of weird symbols. So it shouldn't really be a surprise that their RPG based on the Star Wars system, Edge of the Empire and other books, also use a proprietary dice symbol using all sorts of weird, funky symbols. So how do they work? Well, let's go take a look. So here are all the different dice that you'll usually see in the Star Wars RPG. The core rulebook goes into all these circumstances as to when you would apply these dice. So whatever dice you get, you would take and roll and see if your successes are canceled out by failures. Is this little triangle shape here? That's a failure. These little circular symbols here, that's what's called a threat. And then this symbol here is called a despair. Think of that as like your critical failure. You have a success, and then you have advantage. Also have a triumph, which is, think of like your critical hit. Successes cancel out failures and vice versa, and triumphs cancel out advantages. So as you can see with this dice system, the kinds of stories that you tell are not just straight up binary, I passed or I failed, but there's all sorts of different ways you can interpret this. I could really succeed at something, but still have something bad happen, or I could fail at something and have it work in my favor, though. So that's an overview of how other ways that dice can be used in RPGs. Have you ever used the narrative dice system or played the Star Wars RPG? Let me know down in the comments below. And make sure you check out my channel for other great RPG stuff. And in the meantime, may all your hits be crits.
Hey everybody, welcome to Miniature World. I'm Rob Orrin, of course, and in the background here is Historicon, a one of the oldest conventions in America, wargaming conventions. Tons of miniatures. I'm going to take and walk you around. We're going to take a look. Hope you enjoy it. This week's Miniature World. Until next time, I'm Rob Orrin. We'll see you soon.
Someone has a question on our forums, and by the way, we have forums that you can go to and talk to people at. Just go to dicetower.com and click on forums, or go to Board Game Geek and click on the Dice Tower Guild there. But they asked, how do you deal with negativity? They said they post things on the internet, and there's a lot of negativity. Now, negativity definitely exists in humanity in general, and also exists on the internet at large. And I often tell people, anyone who says I am my own worst critic has obviously never read the internet. And the internet tends to criticize everything. I mean, you could even put into, there are negative reviews where we are negatively reviewing games, but I would hope that overall the Dice Tower is a much more positive force on the internet than a negative one. But negativity definitely exists, and you're going to feel it. If you produce content or just put out anything on the internet, there's likely going to be somebody who comes by. And in fact, negativity doesn't exist even if you are not doing anything. I could just be reading Facebook or Twitter, and a good chunk of posts are people complaining or saying vile things about other people or other people groups, and it can be an unpleasant place. Well, how do you deal with that? And for some people, it's easier than others. I often think that for myself, it's easier usually to handle negative criticism. I mean, I probably wouldn't be running this show if I couldn't handle the criticism as it comes in. But, you know, even if you can handle it better than other people, there are still days where sometimes it just crosses the line. You go on, you read a post, and you're like, how could they say that? How could they say that about what I wrote, what I did, who I am, what I said? So I think, for one thing, for me, deleting is a good thing. Now, I've already mentioned this before on our YouTube channel. I delete trolls, people who are excessively violently negative. I'm going to delete them to make our YouTube channel a better place. And I also do the same thing with Facebook. I have a lot of Facebook friends, and if a Facebook friend is constantly filling up the feed with negative posts, it doesn't matter how much I like that person or know them or what good they might give me, I just unfriend them or hide them or whatever, so I don't see that stuff anymore. And I'm working hard to make my Facebook and Twitter feeds a more positive thing so that I can read them. Now, there's a difference here. By making these places kind of like a safe space to go to, there's a difference between that and making them an echo chamber. Like on the Dice Tower, I don't delete people who say that we're wrong about things, you know, like, Tom, I can't believe you like this game, it's a great game. Fine. I'm all for boisterous disagreement. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the Dice Tower. And I'm for that, you know, even on Facebook, I'm obviously not going to delete someone because they're political, religious, and other, you know, gaming differences are different than mine. No, I don't think echo chambers are useful, and I think a lot of people do that. They delete everyone except for people who agree with them. But people who agree with you can also influence you negatively because they're constantly smashing down others who you disagree with, which makes you feel even more negatively towards them. And that's, I think, more problematic. You can ignore it. I was talking to a designer the other day who said that they just don't read most of the reviews and criticisms of their game because it just would bring them down. And so they just, if there's a lot of people saying the same thing, someone else will say a lot of people said this, and that's something they might fix with the game. But for the most part, you can just not read it. Sometimes I think we invite this trouble upon ourselves. And focus on the positive comments. I have 2 folders of email. One is called You're an Idiot, Tom. And that's where I send all the emails that say really mean things to me. And if I'm ever feeling too proud, I can go read those. But I also have You're Awesome, Tom. And when people say something nice to me in an email or whatever, I keep it and I can go back and read those. And that's another uplifting thing. There are people who say positive things, and we can focus on those. And it's funny because like 20 people will say something good and one person will say something bad, and we'll focus on what that one bad person said. Why? When all those other people said very nice things. And then spending time in real life. With real life people are much nicer than on the internet, I found. And people in real life are much more polite. And even if they disagree with you, will not say so in such a negative way. And sometimes our lives are so tied up online that we get distracted by, you know, that can discourage us when there are people in real life who are willing to be friendly and nice towards us. When you put content up on the internet, like YouTube and stuff, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for fame? Because if so, you just got to accept that with fame comes negativity. The most famous people in the world have people who hate them and say nasty things about them. Are you doing it for money? Well, if you're doing it for money, why do you care what people think of it? You're getting your money, you're getting paid. I'm not sure that doing things for money is the best reasoning. Are you doing it for love of games? Do you love these games? Well, then who cares what other people say? If I say, oh man, I want to talk about Carcassonne and how great Carcassonne is, someone's like, what? Talking about Carcassonne again? And I just, who cares what they say? If you love Carcassonne, don't let them diminish your joy in gaming. And communities. There's a lot of communities on the internet, and some of them are meaner than others. So maybe you can handle some of it. Maybe some of it just kind of attunes to your taste. So Facebook, Reddit, Board Game Geek, Fortress Ameritrash, there's all sorts of different communities out there. You can find a community. In fact, a lot of these communities have sub-communities. Facebook has different Facebook groups that you can read. Board Game Geek, I love our Dice Tower guild there, our forums, because they're much more polite and much nicer than the general forums. And so if you find a place like that, you will have a more enjoyable time. Negativity exists on the internet, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But I think we shouldn't allow it to affect us. Board gaming is a wonderful, terrific hobby. And remember this too. Every time you read something negative that someone else has said about somebody else and it kind of makes you cringe inside, or they said about you makes you cringe inside, just think about what you're doing on the internet. Are you writing things that are positive and uplifting? I hope so. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell. Let's keep going on with Board Game Breakfast.
Hi, Mike Delisio from Solomode Games. One of my favorite themes in board gaming is post-apocalyptic theming. And there are a number of those games that I have that have a solo variant. So I wanted to highlight some of those games for you in case you have an interest in the theme yourself and maybe you're going to be playing solo. First, I have Hit Z Road, Z for Zombie, a Martin Wallace game, post-apocalyptic in nature. Next, we've got Post-Human, a game of mutants and trying to survive and find a colony in post-apocalyptic times. Outlive, this is a new game with a kind of almost a Fallout Shelter kind of a feel to it. If you've ever played Fallout Shelter or Fallout, those video games, it kind of has that type of a feel to it. Colony, dice manipulation and drafting game set in a post-apocalyptic universe. Mostly gets by with the theme on the art there. Otherwise, it's pretty abstract in that way. Saltlands, a really unique, interesting post-apocalyptic themed game where you're riding around on wind vehicles and having to avoid raiders and such. 51st State, Master Set, a card game, a re-implementation actually of this was Imperial Settlers. And then we've got Salvation Road, a co-op game with a post-apocalyptic theme. And then finally, of course, we've got 11 Z's for One, a game of radioactive tea and mutant biscuits. So there you have it. 8 games in a post-apocalyptic setting. If any of those look interesting to you, maybe you want to check them out. Do you have a favorite post-apocalyptic game? If so, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
This week on What Should I Get, we're not going to talk about things you should probably get this time. We're actually going to do a recap of the Dice Tower Con. It's going to be really brief. Trust me. Maybe. Hi, this is Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and this is What Should I Get, where usually we'll recommend games to people from the Board Games subreddit underneath the personalized game daily recommendation, whatever it's called. But today we're actually going to go over a recap of Dice Tower Con. Now at this point, roughly about a week ago, I was actually at the Dice Tower Con, and it was actually my first big convention. I met a ton of people while there, I met a ton of viewers, I met a ton of people from the Dice Tower community, I met just a ton of gamers in general. So first off, it was actually a very diverse crowd there, which I was pleasantly surprised at. Now what really surprised me was actually the amount of women that were at this convention. I would almost go as far as saying that was very close to a 50-50 split. Actually, in fact, the ratio between men and women at the convention was so great that I was actually hosting a speed dating event there, and while I was expecting it to totally bomb, it actually went over very, very well, so it was actually surprisingly great. And I'm not going to post their pictures, but thank you Tiffany and Min for all of that help. And that was the first thing. The second thing is I wasn't actually even planning on spending any money at this convention outside of food, hotel stay, and stuff like that, but I ended up spending a ton of money there because, as we know, Cool Stuff Inc.'s main headquarters is down in Florida, so of course they were there, and they had a ton of things to basically sell at ding and dent prices. And the third and last thing I'll touch on really briefly is just the Dice Tower contributors and staff and everything in general. Everyone was great. I didn't meet a single person which I wouldn't grab a beer with or anything like that afterwards. I love how he thinks I'm taking a picture. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick little recap on the Dice Tower convention. If you've been considering going to it, I would highly recommend it. It's, like I said, it's my first major convention. I can already see it as easily being one of my favorites. I wasn't thinking about going there next year. It's going to be one of those things where I rotated conventions. But I think I might have to go there again next year. But yeah, this is Gary Pope from Late to the Table, and see you guys later. Bye. Okay, just not gonna let me go off that easy. Okay, well, IKEA's doing like a 20% off deal. You can, this is US only, you can't get in UK or Canada or anything like that. Brings down a $200 Calyx to like $160. So you can check out more details in the Reddit post below. And okay, fine. I did my job. That's something you should get. Get Calyxes. Okay, bye.
Hi everyone. Here in Düsseldorf, the last day of school marks the beginning of the largest fair on the Rhine, with over 4 million people visiting over the course of 10 days. It features huge roller coasters, rides of all sorts, dexterity games, and of course food and beer. What most people don't know is that it's all organized by a shooting club, or as they call it, a Schützenverein. In 1435 it was the first time that they had a shooting competition in honor of Düsseldorf's city patron, Saint Apollinaris of Ravenna. And that tradition of shooting down a target is kept alive still. Every year there is still a huge traditional parade, and a shooting competition is held over the course of the fair, with at the end the crowning of the new Schützen King. This week I am playing a traditional Dutch game, where having a good aim is all that matters. This week I am playing Schulen. In Schulen you have 3 chances to slide 30 wooden pucks over a board into small numbered scoring boxes. Yes, we have fighting. You get points for each puck that entered a scoring box, and if you have complete sets with pucks in every compartment, you get bonus points. Every family get-together, the Schulbuck is brought down from the attic and we all participate in playing a game. It's a lot of fun. So there you have it. German traditions and Dutch traditions. Thanks for watching. My name is Dave Luza. Bye.
Today, in the best and the worst with Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele, I'm going into my garden. I'm technically going into my veggie garden and we'll harvest some vegetables, right? So, join me.
My favorite part of Veggie Garden is the interaction of the cards. So when you take one of these cards on your hand, first of all it's an end scoring point, so whatever cabbage scores at the end of the game, you will get it. However, you also take the action from the cabbage, and the cabbage is, for an example, shifting a row. So you take this one here and shift that up. If you take, for an example, the paprika, you can switch positions of this or positions of the numbers on this poles. So whenever you're taking one, you take the action of the card. That is so rewarding. That is so much fun. It's fast, but it feels so good to play this game. I really enjoy this interaction of, oh, you're changing the whole board. Damn, that's not nice. Okay, the downside is exactly what you can imagine right now. I wish there would be more in it. So you have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vegetables, and you are playing with 5. So let's say not with this one here. So you're playing with 5 out of 6. You see the replayability and the variance you can play out of it is not as big as it should be. And yeah, I mean, that almost screams for some expansions, and I wish that would be included in the base game, at least 8 or 10 different vegetables.
Thanks so much for joining me for Harvest Garden from Quick Simple Fun. See you next week here on the Board Game Breakfast. My name is Niels. Bye bye.
Okay, so let's take a look here at this shelf. Just a few games here. We have Rum and Bones, which is Rum and Bones Second Tide, but I have all the original Rum and Bones stuff, so a ton of it. I really like this one. I've been thinking about getting there's like 3 more factions for it, but that would require another box. And I don't know if I played enough to warrant, I mean, it's one of my favorite games, but I don't think I played enough to warrant having like, you know, how many factions do I got now? There was 4 or 5, there's 6 factions, plus mercenaries, that's a lot. But still, a really fun pirate game. Cry Havoc, of course. Really excited about the expansion that's coming out later this year. And that's it for games. Then here I have a dice tower. This is a bit of a trebuchet that will launch dice. All of them launch into this here. I also have a hammer that just falls down. You put the dice up in the hammer and then they fall into this castle here. It keeps them from going all over the place. A lot of fun for me. I really like the way they look. And that's what's on the shelf this week.
Hey, this is Mike with Boardgaming Makeover. In this episode, I would like to show you the program that I found on the internet, specifically on Board Game Geek, that I downloaded, and it's a card making program. And this is how I was able to make the Splendor retheme using Pokemon Go. And these are the Pokemon cards, and I'm going to show you how I did that, because that card making program is amazing. And if you want to make your own cards for any game that you're doing, this is the program to use. Let me show you how that works. I was searching for a card making program and came across Nandeck on Board Game Geek. I was directed to the Nandeck website where I downloaded this free program. After finding all of the images for the Pokemon, the various Pokeballs, and the backgrounds, I organized them into folders and then built my Excel spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is the driving force for Nandeck to work. I then fired up Nandeck. The GUI interface is simple and the manual is well written. The Pokemon cards took 66 lines of code. After you validate the deck to make sure there are no errors, you build the deck, which displays the cards as they are being built. I also have the option to save the cards as images or as a PDF file. I saved the cards as JPEG images and then copied them into Microsoft Word. After sizing the images to my card size, I printed them on my cheap Canon printer. So as I showed you, Nandeck is extremely structured and it's really easy to use. The hardest thing was really just to organize the images and make sure that you're pointing to the right images. But once you print that stuff out and build the deck, you have this and you have that. Very simple and fun to use. Nandeck. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. I'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, it's lunchtime! Today we're looking at a game called Grifters. It is a game designed by Jake Tlapek and David Fulton, published by Indie Boards and Cards. It plays 2 to 4 players in 30 minutes in about 14 ages 14 and up.
So this game is like set collection, a bit of hand management. There's a few things going on. It almost looks deck buildery, but not quite. So in this game, each player has a hideout, and you have cards which actually have different abilities that you can use. So you play these cards into your hideout, and you'll actually slide them across the hideout, and eventually they'll come off your board so you can actually bring them back into your hand. So a lot of these cards are a bit of that take that, because you can play them against other players, including stealing, other cards from their hideout, putting them into yours, swapping cards, taking money, or what's the terminology? ISK?
ISK,
yeah.
basically, yeah.
I call it ISK, but
ISK,
I'm assuming it's just ISK. It just sounds so much better. There's also jobs you can complete, and the jobs have specific requirements, and those symbols are listed on the card, so you need to have that many symbols in order to complete the card. And it gives you bonuses like the money in the game, or sometimes it's stealing from another player. So it's really fun. A lot of reading in the beginning. So if you're teaching this game during lunch hour, expect it to be an hour, I found, because you were trying to read the cards, but I thought it was a lot of fun. So.
I like the theme of this game. I like a con job or bank job movie. It really has that thematic feel to it with the different roles, the different card abilities, and the art is fantastic on it as well. So
yeah, very thematic. The jobs and what each of the characters do, it kind of matches like their title. So I really like that, and it's kind of got that nice gritty feel. It's quite lovely, and actually I'm pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed this game.
Oh yes, and the winning condition, that is important. So the person with the most of the money, or the ISK, wins. So I thought it was very straightforward. Like I said, a lot of reading to do, but I liked the art and the theme, and I was surprised, to be honest. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but it was fun to play.
Yes, very much so.
Definitely.
We'll bring this one back, I think. So that's it for now, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children of around 5 and under. And today we're going to talk about this game. What is it, Cora?
Lumina.
Lumina. I nearly called you Lumina then. That'd be a nice name. Do you want to change it?
No.
Oh, okay. Lumina. Lumina is a really fantastic memory game from Haber, which, in my opinion, is probably the best kids game released last year. The players are bug collectors, competing to be the first to find and collect 5 glowworms that are hidden on a magical island. You move around this island by hopping from location to location by turning over tiles. At first, you're just guessing where the tiles for the route you want are, but as the game progresses, you start to remember where everything is, and the pace and the excitement levels really hot up. I'm a massive fan of memory and move games, and this one is one of the best. The artwork is beautiful, and, as always with Haber, the production values are really top notch. I can't recommend Lumina enough. So Cora, did you like Lumina?
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
I liked, it was kind of like an adventure in a board game.
It is like an adventure, isn't it? You're walking around a map and things like that.
And sometimes if you're closer in it, you can get there first.
Yeah.
And like, I won in it, did I?
Yeah, you did win, yeah. Yeah. You always win in this. The reason she always wins in this is because her memory is significantly better than mine. It's another one of those kids' games where kids have a natural advantage because of their good memory and their good kind of instant learning. And you're really good at this one, aren't you? So, we give Lumina 2 adventurous thumbs up.
Now, I don't want to go on and on talking about a convention that most people did not go to, but I did want to spend the next 2 minutes talking about Dice Tower Con, so feel free to skip ahead if you feel as though that's enough to enrage you. I'll just give you a second to work that out. Some weather, we're having some weather. Sports. Right, Dice Tower Con was the best convention I've ever been to. But why is this, you stupid Jacobean clown? You might ask if you're being particularly hurtful. It's not Florida, which is a lovely place where humans probably should not live. And it's not the publishers or the vendors or the demos or even the game library, which at a lot of conventions are bigger And it's not that, you know what, I'll just tell you, it's the people. It's all of the people. The massive display of kindness, tolerance, patience, and general ridiculousness. Just nonsense. I just met so many nice people. People that I'm actually excited about seeing again if I get a chance to go over next year. And that's a big deal coming from me. Because I don't like people. Also, not once did I notice any body odour from anyone, which is amazing and does not suggest that I was the problem. I know that adage. So I just implore everyone to go out to local conventions and give it a go, even if you think it's not going to be great, because I think you'll have a good time. And to everyone I met, thank you very much, and I'll see you all next week.
Well, that's it, folks, for another Board Game Breakfast. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Dice Tower. You know, I often say each week, like, oh, there's so many exciting things coming out. But it really is true. There's a lot of great things coming out all the time. And I'm not even talking about Gen Con. I'm talking about there's great games available for playing right now. So many of the games I've reviewed over the last several months have been fantastic games. I've had a chance to play many of them several times. So you should go out and try to play some games too. If you came to Dice Tower Con, that's fantastic. If you're going to Gen Con, that's fantastic. But if you're never going to any of these cons, we're glad that you joined us today anyway. Thanks so much. Let us know in the comments what you think of the show. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.